What if this moment could serve as your pause to reflect upon your life's legacy? I have the pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Steve Fultz. He's a family business advisor and consultant, as well as a member of a family business. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining today from Knoxville, Tennessee. Would you like to start us out today by providing a little context about your family's business?
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. My father started our family business before I was actually born. Right out of high school, he started working at a fuel station where they would go to the larger city about 60 miles away and bring fuel to our hometown and put it in smaller trucks and take it into the mountains to do coal mining. This was way back in the 60s. We're from Appalachia Mountains, right there in East Tennessee, the foothills of Smoky Mountains. But he found a problem where he was. Some of the trucks were breaking down, and he would take a tank off of a truck that broke down and put it onto another truck that would run. And they started doing that for his company, and people started calling saying, "Hey, would you do that for us?" So he really discovered our business. We buy and sell fuel trucks, petroleum transportation, and have been doing so now for over 60 years. So that was my introduction into family business. I grew up around it my whole life. My father was an incredible person. He's still alive, still a great friend, and we still communicate quite a bit. But he had the work ethic and the vision to see a need. He met the need for his current situation, but he turned that into a business. And now we sell in about 48 states, and then we ship to about 30 countries, fuel trucks, tank trucks, and tankers. So that's a little bit about my family business.
Well, that's thank you for sharing. I didn't know the context. I did watch one of the videos that you had shared about how you're a second family generation member, and then your daughter is now also in the business, and realizing how much the next gen should change, some things they should not change, and
Right.
how much he had his finger on the pulse when it came to bookkeeping. And
Right.
yes. And then later being open to the ideas of technology and outsourcing some of those things. And I know you've also spoken into this idea about how the business is structured, whether it's 1099 employees in terms of, or 1099 independent contractors in terms of the tax structure compared to incorporating more employees today. So I think all of those decisions just make for a rich conversation, because those are the decision moments that people have to figure out, because the business grows and you rely on that
Yeah.
team, and yeah, it's always moving.
Right. It really is. And over the years, Dad, he would incorporate technology to an extent. He's 79 now, so he was born in 44. So, computers came out, and he's a little bit shy of that, but the internet came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I was, kind of in my mid 20s, and I got him online. And that really did change our business, because we do so much with showing people the equipment through videos and pictures that we can send immediately or upload our YouTube channel. So I think I helped him, even in the 2000s early, come into the, what I would call the 20th century with us. We were a little slow getting there, but we made it. But he was very open to me trying to do some things that he didn't understand, but it really helped our business. And then in probably he called me in 2010 and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about retiring. Would you like to take the family businesses?" And I said, "Dad, I'd love to." And so I was able to come back into the business and overlap maybe 4 years with him to really learn. And I'm so thankful for that overlap transition period, because I got to see how he does things. And even though we're from a different generation, he's smart man, brilliant. He just we do things differently. We're very much alike, but we do some things differently. And he was okay handing the business off, and that's when I say handing off, that's lightly. I talk to him every day, and I would say, "Dad, what would you do here?" And he's like, "Buddy, that's yours. You do it." But I wanted somebody to tell me no or yes, or am I doing the right thing? Some feedback. So But I did bring my oldest daughter in around 2010 or 11 as well. And I thought I was a tech guy, but she grew up doing tech. So she really did a great stuff with us online marketing. And she runs admin for really all three of our family companies right now. She's in her early 30s, and it's fun to watch her put her unique fingerprints on the business. Dad started it, and then I kind of added some things, and then Sarah is even adding more. So it's been fun to watch. And in thinking about this podcast, I started really thinking about legacy. And both of my grandparents were just amazing, salt of the earth people that worked hard. They both came from large families. Of course, being in the Appalachian Mountains, I think people had large families to help work on the farm. So my mother had 13 siblings. My dad had 8. And of course, their parents had large families. And so I look at the legacy that my family, have left, and there was a sense of pride, a sense of character, a sense of being a good person. You see sometimes people think about legacy and they put a monetary value to it. I guess I look at it as so much more. It's more than just financial for me. I look at both my grandparents, who they were, what they did, even their parents. So even preparing for this podcast, I started thinking back about the legacy that's been passed down to me and the responsibility I feel about I've got to continue, passing down our family legacy, whether that's your name, a handshake was, your character really is all you have at the end of the day when nobody's looking. And I think that was instilled to me even by default of just being a good person, doing the right thing. And over the years, I've tried to live by that. And the few times that I tried to do something in the gray, it's always bit me. So I think I've learned the hard way. But I do think it's important for family business owners to really stop to think. We can get so busy in the day to day. Think about, I'm just thankful for all the people that shaped my life to this point, and most of them were family members. But then I think it's really hit me about what am I doing now with my children. I have 2 daughters and 3 stepsons, and my youngest daughter has her own store. She has a retail store and sells children's baby clothes, and it's been going now for 5 years, and she's doing great there. But I do think there was some entrepreneurial legacy passed down. We've got this bug of being in business, to better ourselves, but also help our community and better other people. So it's been a really good exercise for me. And I've actually used this with a couple of my clients of this past week. We've really drilled down on the subject of legacy. And I think it was very enriching for the people I've done this with so far.
Oh, that's wonderful. It is a deep question. And I think a lot of times it becomes a part of one's culture. Like when you spoke about the stepchildren and the grandparents, and it gets ingrained as a part of the culture. It's like the waters that you swim in. And then to look up
Yeah.
one moment, go, oh yeah, those are the entrepreneurial waters that we swim in. The hot diggity
Right.
dog. It's wonderful. Like, that's awesome. Yes.
Right.
So I know that you work in the capacity as a coach to also help advise and consult, but you also have a
Mm-hmm.
background where you studied, was it theology?
Yeah, I wear a
Leading
lot of hats,
others.
but yeah,
Okay.
growing
Yeah.
up, yeah, growing up, I was very active in my church, and I was real involved and ended up going to seminary where I got a master's of divinity with Bible languages. And then I've served local churches for about 25 years, and mainly in a support role as an education pastor or a family pastor, or youth pastor, something like that. But I got out of what I call the local church in 2006 and got kind of more into the business world. While I was at church, I went back to a land grant university and got a PhD in psychology. So I opened up a few psychology counseling centers that were affiliated with the church, but not the church. And I really enjoyed helping people there. When I came back into the family business, I really, I was like, the fear gripped me that first day that Dad, he had retired. He was still in Knoxville at the time, but I went into the office and I'll never forget sitting in his chair for the first time and just being gripped with, oh no, what if I do something wrong? Or what if I blow, Dad built this thing and what if I tear it down? Or, I mean, it was literally, I had all these thoughts of what if, can I do this? All the pressure. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I was just thinking about the fact of how you guide people today, and I almost wondered if there was a reference point, a pillar of loving on your clients almost the way that somebody might love on their flock. Or, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
metaphor, obviously. I mean, people are not sheep, but
no,
in the sense of stewarding their direction from a place of love and from a place of faith.
yes. Yeah, I really do believe in people, and I believe that we all have the answers inside. So my philosophy of coaching is basically kind of holding up a mirror and letting the person talk. And I also look at, if I held up this mouse, I guess it's just sitting right here, but if I held this up, you would only see the one dimension. So what in my style of coaching, I look at to say, look, there's a whole other side that if you saw this and you didn't know, you might not know, this edge is way different than here. So my philosophy of coaching or my style is much more I want the person to see he or she all sides of themselves and the people or whatever the issue is. And I believe that in helping that person talk, he or she teaches himself or herself in that process. So that's kind of my philosophy. It's more short term, very results oriented, goal oriented. I'm like, you got a task. Let's look at where you want to go. Let's look at how we're going to get there, and you can do this in 3 weeks, and then we're done. And so that's been helpful for people, I think, because you see momentum when you can accomplish this, and then they don't need me the next time. They're learning some skills to 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 teach himself or herself.
Yes.
So that loving on, it's a good way. I believe in people. I believe in the best. I think people. I think we're very resourceful. I think we get stuck sometimes, and I just try to help people see. You know what? We always have options. I mean, they may not be good options, but we always have options. I also try to do some things about perspective. If I'm dealing with somebody and I can say, look out the window, they can tell me all the things they see, but I've never had a client tell me I see the window pane. And so we talk about that window pane, that everything that they're seeing is really affected by that window pane, whether it's dirty or tinted or, so we're all looking through a lens, and I try to help them really see how their lens affects themselves and other people as well. So
Yes.
it's fun. I
Yes,
enjoy it.
I think it's just lovely, and I think that
Yeah.
because you've walked in the footsteps of having to trust yourself in those moments of pressure, of having to grow beyond your comfort
Yeah.
zone in the capacity as a business leader and as in all the different hats that you wear, I think then it easily transitions to being able to guide clients who are in that family business role to say, you can trust to go to the next step, and I
Yeah.
will hold you accountable.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and I think you just hit on it. I think I learn more than my clients do. I really do. I think we humans are better off together than apart. And I think, we all, we all can teach somebody something. So I look at it as what can I help? How can I help you? But also in doing so, I'm going to be helped. I think it's just a philosophy of my life that I'm always more enriched after meeting somebody and sharing even our time together. So it's been great to meet you these last few weeks as well.
yes. Well, it's what does they say about the teacher? Sometimes it's like when we teach it, we have to really know it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I
Yeah,
think also there's something to be said of our clients will only grow as much as we have expanded ourselves. So if we're going to ask them to do something,
that's
we
true.
have had to also have to have been courageous enough to have walked that mile or to have taken that leap of faith whether it's expanding a business or taking on more roles and responsibilities that maybe a decade ago we would have never thought, or even a year ago. And yet sometimes,
Right.
yeah, it's there's that expression about was it oh, it's on the tip of my tongue about mother is the necessity of help me out here, Steve.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what the quote you're talking about. The necessity of all. I'm blank, so sorry, but I
So
know the metaphor you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, that when we're backed into a corner, it's like those are the moments that we either have to choose to grow, or and sometimes there isn't much choice.
Right, right.
So, before I ask you about your purpose statement, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you see family business leaders and entrepreneurs facing today? Or what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in your journey?
Sure. Yeah, great question. I think, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but business in general, there are some, I would say, tenets or some fundamentals of business that's pretty much, it doesn't change across industry or you know, uh, profession. I think there's some real general business principles. When you add family dynamics on top of that, it really does make it a mixed bag because you have a history of the business, you have a history of the family. And I'll give you my own personal example. My father, I have a brother that's 7 years younger, and but he was busy in his career, and my dad gave me the stocks to the companies, and I've been involved in it. He is not. One of my daughters is involved in the business. My stepsons are not yet. I have an uncle that's in the business, but all of those layers add. I think there's far more positives than challenges, but there are challenges when you have family involved. And then if you look at, I've been married. I'm my second marriage. So you look at the statistics of the divorce rate at 50 to 55%, depending on what study you're looking at. You've got a lot of blended families that are in the business. So, in my case, I benefited from the family business all my life, but I didn't pay the dues that my father paid. You know what I mean? I want what my father has. I got the microwave mentality. I was born in 66, so I'm right on that 46. I'm kind of a boomer, but not, I'm right on that kind of a pericope. I could go either way. But I'm from the microwave mentality. I want it now, but I realized my dad spent 40 years, building to what we got. So his approach was a little different than mine. My daughter's is even more, she was born in 92. So more of that millennial Gen Z, I guess, and that the way she looks at things. So because of that, if I was in the regular corporate world, some of the family dynamics and our personalities would not play as much into it because the corporate structure has a pretty good hierarchy. When you have family, you've got family, and sometimes the mother may not ever go into the office, but she runs a place. You know what I mean? And you got siblings and uncles and cousins and there's expectations that are often taken for granted or assumptions made that probably shouldn't be. But so, and I'm not trying to say family business, they have their own nuances, but they're very much, it affects everything. And, in a corporate world, you have your family life, your personal life, and you have your business. If you own a family business and run a family business, all those circles are overlapped. And so, you don't have a professional and professional friends and personal friends. The company, you are the company. And so um, I think some of the challenges that we faced is how do you transition and keep communication open through the transition, because it's almost impossible. The larger the family or the longer that's been in business, they probably are a lot more well-oiled machine because of in the past they had some real train wrecks, and they're like, we have to really put up a sign to not let a car come through the tracks. You know what I mean? So I think that challenge of communicating the vision to the people involved in the business, but also people that are not. you have family members that work in the business, but also family members that benefit from the business. Keeping all of those people up to date, I think, is up to speed, is a huge challenge that we all as family businesses face, including us. And I'm aware of it, and I still work on it every day, and we still have a long way to go.
That's such a great point that you bring up regarding how clear are the lines, if there are even lines.
Yeah.
Because if the lines are
Yes.
not clear, at least you know that going in, that there's going to be some of
Yeah.
the assumptions, and mom might say, I expect this of you. And it was never like written in the job
Yes.
description. And yet, in order to keep everyone happy, those are the sacrifices, compromises, as well as, those moments where you rise to the occasion.
Yes. Yeah. And there's job descriptions, but then there's, well, that's Billy. He's my cousin, and he tries. He's not gonna he's not gonna do what's in the job description, but he's been here for 20 years, and you leave him alone. So that's the kind of, and I'm talking in generalities, and I don't want, there's as many within group differences as between group differences, but the larger the family business is, and the longer it's been in existence, and the total number of revenue, the total number of gross profit, as that increases, I think some of these things are put in place, and it's a lot more it's a lot more efficient and effective than some of these family businesses. Like I was one of them. My dad would say we were a mom and pop that outgrew itself, and we outgrew our infrastructure. And now, I brought in a management team, and in a family business, that was a big decision. And it's like, why? Why do we need that? And they have brought skills, and they brought a perspective, the window pane that I would never have. And I caught some flack, but yet we have grown and been way more productive and profitable by bringing the two of them on. They've been with me now 3 years. The first 2 years, I had to fuss about justifying them, and this last year, they're like, "Why did we wait so long?" So, but all these things bring up discussion points and challenges, and I like to see them as opportunities for growth. So.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think with
Yeah.
change can sometimes be hard, but
Yeah.
I think there's that inertia at first. And then once it works well, then everyone says,
Yeah.
oh, we should have done it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in
Great
that,
idea, Steve.
yeah.
Yeah.
But beforehand, it's that risk assessment of, what are we gambling here? And what if, and then you have to kind of process all
Exactly.
of those perceived as well as
Yep.
real fears. So now that there's a management
Yep.
team in place, I'd love to ask you about your purpose. Like what, do
Yeah.
you think now that you've had a little bit of time this week, like when
Yeah.
you think about like your role here on earth, your skill sets, what you've
Yep.
had to do, what you, were born with the skills of, what do you think
Yeah.
now about your
Yeah.
purpose?
Good question. And the management team I brought in to run two of our companies that were both in the repair business, and they're the ones with the larger employee count and what I would just call a lot more headaches. The one business my dad started, I'm still doing with I got one guy that's been with me 25 years, and my daughter, and then I have others. So it's much smaller. I'll continue to do that because I love that part of finding, fixing, buying, selling. So I'll keep doing that. But when I started thinking about my purpose, this is a really good question, because and a big part of me getting into this coaching consulting with family businesses is I want to help people at the root. I believe I'm an encourager. I believe I see the best in people. I want people to know, look, you get beat up all day, every day. You show up and everybody's there trying to I want to be a cheerleader to say, man, or she or he, you have so many skill sets that you've kind of put in the back, and I want to help them see that again, to get that fire or that excitement about, what, I'm tired of sitting on the bench. I've been here too long. I'm going to get back in the game. So I really believe I'm here to help people be the best they can be. And I enjoy pouring my life into people. And I think my training as well as the business part has really equipped me for this time. So the last 6 to 8 months, I've just been creating content and reaching out and talking to people informally. and I'm just loving it. And people are hurting. You know, I think we're I think we humans are brilliant, and I think we get discouraged and defeated. I think we get knocked down, and really the only way you're going to fail is to quit. And I tell people that if you want to quit, you can do it now and save a lot of heartache. But if the only way you can really fail is to quit. If you keep going, you're going to make it. And you know, we talk through tons of different ways to say there's a way for you to put your foot in front of. You may seem like I'm stuck, I can't move, but there's always an option.
Oh, I
So
think
that's why
that's
I'm here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's just brilliant and wonderful. And you're absolutely right to walk the footsteps of someone who is in the field, like the CEO who walks the floor, the entrepreneur who walks the floor. You're absolutely right.
yeah,
They take some heat because people want it now.
yeah.
They don't want the excuses. They
Right.
and if a customer is silent, that means that they're happy.
True. That is true. Yeah,
But I think
that's
with
good.
that pressure can come a little bit of loneliness, and that person can live in a world of a bubble. And there's only so much that
Yeah,
perhaps their partner or spouse or children might want to hear. And so,
right.
and even those individuals have only so many skill sets to help guide that person. And sometimes when
Right.
somebody's in the heat of the moment, they need more than just a pat on the back. I mean, they're under some real
Yes.
pressure to perform. And if you got numbers and operations and people are relying on you, and a pat on the back or somebody meaning well is wonderful, but that doesn't solve the problem.
Right. Yeah. That's well said.
So it's wonderful. Okay. So I want to bring up coaching again because I think as a fellow advisor and trained coach, we probably did different
Hmm.
methodologies. I went through the Coactive Institute. You went through your own university training and so forth. Would you
Yep.
speak into the value of coaching? Because I could bring up examples of athletes and how much better they are to
Sure.
have a coach be calling out their blind spots. But in the context of family business, where is the 10x value that you've witnessed, seen, and heard?
Yeah, I really believe it's when I can get that person, the leader, to really be aligned with who he or she is, and they really get the glimpse of the vision and the direction. I see passion kind of blow up, and I do think it's because there's somebody that's taking time, a focused time to focus on them. And you know, my style is too. I'm not a because people be like, well, you've had the therapy background and then this. I am. It's coaching. It to me is so much more. And I can think about my personal life. I've spent. I don't want to add up what I spend a year in personal development, but I got to tell you, it is probably returned tenfold in me financially, but also peace of mind, energy, influence. You know, I just I think everybody ought to have a coach. I think we all have some blind spots. Now, I'm not talking about lifelong. I think to get you through, I think we humans will hit a barrier, and then I think we need an objective perspective for somebody to come in and say, "I here's a few things I see. I think if you tweak, you know, you're almost there." And I love doing that with people because it's the aha moments, and then they don't need me. Like I don't like fostering dependence. It's like you have the answers, you can do this, so go. And I really like following up and seeing, and then hearing the excitement. You know what? We talked about this, and this happened, and so now this. And I enjoy those phone calls a lot with follow up. So one thing I will say with far as legacy, I'm encountering several second generation people who, because of a tragedy or illness or just quickly the parent or founder dies or is not able to lead. I've been shocked at the number of people are like, I don't want the business, you know, which that was surprising when I started in this because they will say, it's been great to me. I have benefited from having a business, you know, financially for my whole life, but it's just not what I want to do. And I've enjoyed, you know, meeting with that person and if the founder is able together to start talking about a transition, you know, about because they could sell if a family member doesn't want to buy the business or you know however you work out the gifting or purchasing, you have employees that some of your key employees may want to buy or the market. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of great businesses online that, you know, I think that have the real value, and there's people with cash wanting to buy businesses that can create revenue. So a surprising thing to me with legacy is like, and I've enjoyed this because the second generation people, it's not like they're tied to that business. You know, their identity is more in who they are, and how they contribute to society than this brick and mortar, cash machine. If let's say if it was successful, so that's been
Yeah, that's
surprising to me, and I've enjoyed hearing their reason or rationale for not wanting the businesses as well. So
yes, that is kind of one of those moments that comes up in the conversation. Because again, if there's an expectation that they will take it on, and yet they might look at the business and be very thankful for the opportunities it has allowed for their life and their lifestyle, and yet at the same time, they could see the level of commitment, the extent of sweat equity, and they could say to themselves, "I don't know if I want to do all of that. That's a lot." And
exactly. Yeah, for sure. And just like with my dad, over the years, he bought into two of these businesses that we own now that I brought the management group in. That was not his passion. It wasn't it was just an opportunity. He saw it, he invested. It's been great for us, but it's not, I don't have my identity tied up into entities, like a business. I hope my identity's in who I am as a person, my character, and how I treat people, and how I make people feel, that kind of thing. So
yes,
it's
that's
been
a
refreshing to see and hear that.
Yes. Well, that's a super point you bring up before I go on to the next question. I just think it's because so often in societies, people's identity is enmeshed with their work. It takes a lot to pull
Yeah,
back and to see other
yeah,
aspects of who that individual is as a whole person, and not just
yeah,
their work or their career or their investments, but who they are fully. And I think for anyone who
right.
can develop all parts of themselves, that is just super valuable.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you for bringing that up. So, speaking about a
Mhm.
few of your best life or business lessons, would you say that they came from your family business, or what are some of those lessons?
Yeah, I am still learning. I tell people I'm tired of learning. I have made some really good decisions over the years, and I've made some really poor decisions. And what I'm learning is taking more time to make some of these decisions that are have a longer lasting effect, positive or negative. And I've also learned to bring my wife in on this. I just had a meeting with a group just I don't even know today, 3 days ago, in a state, several kind of in central U.S., and flew in to meet with them a couple of days about partnering in one area. And it was important to me to have my wife go and meet them as well. I think I have a pretty good sense of people, but I've I've had a couple of bad decisions that I'm doubting myself on that some. So I'm build people around me to help me make better decisions moving forward. And that's one example that just happened 2 days ago. That I think another decision that I have learned and it really come through the family business. I am not a good manager, and I've known that about me, but I really know that about me as I've gone and I've had a big group of employees, and I realized that I kind of work around incompetence instead of dealing with it head on. And I think maybe I'm a little too nice at sometimes when I really should have more of a tough love with some people. And maybe that's because the family business, maybe because I know the people. And you got to understand, my dad started the business at 62 years old. The other two, one is 42 years old, and one is 32. So they've been around a long time. We've got employees who've been with me for 40 years plus. So we've been around a while. But what happens with that is you get to complacence, you get comfortable. You don't want somebody's been with you 30, 40 years that maybe not can keep up, but he's been with us 30, 40 years. So I just know I've learned to put people around me that do things better than me. And I like to feel like if I'm sitting around the table in a meeting, I kind of want to be the person that knows the least about what we're talking about, because I if I can do what my team can do, I don't need them, So I try to build the people around me that with their unique skill sets that would complement a lot of my blind spots or weaknesses. So I think I've learned that over the last few years, and it's also made me to want to fire quicker. If it's not working, it's not working, and you're doing yourself and the employee a disservice. So we got people in place that they try to meet and try to have remedial, to look at some kind of plan that we need to improve in these areas, or so we're doing some things better that the management group brought in. It wasn't by me. So I would say those are the biggest lessons. Is I try to put people around me that are much more qualified at the task than me. I try to do what only I can do, and that frees me up to let me, operate in my passion zone.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. I think what you're pointing to is taking inventory, and a very honest inventory, and then making sure that the there's a second opinion that can be available, or a third opinion, which again is just
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yes, yes.
Right.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, I just think that's great to be able to speak into that. Sometimes it's very hard, especially if people have been around a long time, to step on someone else's
Yeah.
toes. Because if you have had a relationship with someone, whether it's 20, 30, 40 years, and then you've got to say to them, hey, I'm bringing some bad news today, because you've gotten a little too comfortable. There is when you talk about like wearing different hats, playing different roles, how does that affect the friendship with that person and the camaraderie? Will it still be comfortable if you run into them at the local grocery store? And just thinking through all of those moving pieces, because it does take a tremendous amount of wisdom, experience, and maturity to make those tough calls.
Yeah. And family relationships. So you have extended family, you've got all these, layers and connections that so-and-so, it's his cousin over here, we're a small town too. So it there's some different challenges, in a family business versus big corporate. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So what does the word legacy mean to you, and what has influenced your view on this word?
I really think when it comes down to it, it's going to be I believe it comes down to values, ethics, character. What do you want to be known for? I look at my two girls and my three stepsons. My youngest daughter just she's a year and a half, so we have one granddaughter. And I look about how I want the world to be, for them. I'm hoping I'm doing some things and putting some things in place that they will benefit financially from, what I'm doing. But I hope it's much more than that. I hope it's instill, a work ethic, instill a sense of purpose, or that you're here to contribute. You're not here to just take in. You've been gifted to give back. And so for me, a legacy would be really helping my family and friends dial into the purpose of why he or she's here, and what are you doing that moves you in that direction. That it comes down to that. I've toyed with this for a week, and I can't get away from just being a good person. I mean, being a contributing that's trying to make the place better than you found it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That would be
I'm glad that you've
that
thought.
would be my informal definition. Yeah.
That's lovely. I'm glad that you thought about it. There is a consciousness about it that once somebody has their awareness raised, then it's like they want to fill in that void and not just have it be another day or another week. To be conscientious
I
about,
agree.
what is it that I'm doing, or how is it that I am showing up?
I will tell you, and I tell you, the benefit that I've gotten since you and I connected and started talking is because of the conscience that you're talking about, I'm being more intentional with my calendar. I'm like, busy doesn't mean effective. And so I'm saying no. I was reading something the other day, and I don't want to timestamp, but we're in November, and a guy was talking about it's November for a reason. The NO, he's like, it's okay to say no. I think we do so many things because we feel obligated or we want to please some person some way. But I've even thinking about this legacy. I'm like, how is this moving me toward my purpose, or how am I helping somebody or making a difference by putting this on my calendar? So I've been very stingy, and as a result, I think I've been very productive this week because I've gotten rid of useless and time wasting activities. Yeah. So thank you for reaching out to do that. I feel like I'm better because of it. So
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to connect. For any of the listeners out there, Steve or Dr. Fultz and I connected over LinkedIn, and then the conversation moved forward with an icebreaker conversation over Zoom. And here we are today chatting it up about legacy. So thank you. I appreciate that. I think that when people can realize that they have more personal agency around the subject than they might have thought of initially, there's so much more that they're willing to bring to the table and to fill in regarding their full identity. And like I've said, it's more than financial and legal documents, and it doesn't have to just be for the famous or the superstar athlete or the affluent, especially given that today about 2/3 of today's affluent are self-made. So there's all these different moving pieces, and I think when each person can come to the table and think about it with their values, it's more than just it's motivated by their character then, and not just by fear, guilt, or that one word we never want to talk about, which is death, right?
Yes, right. Exactly.
So in one sentence, what would you like your legacy to be?
Man, what a deep question. I think he showed up every day. He cared. He tried to be better. He tried to make the people and the places that he comes in contact with a better place than he found it. I mean, I think that's some of the core values. Gratitude. I want to be known to be as a thankful person, but also as somebody that I want. I kind of want to be remembered as he made me feel better when he was around. Yeah, it's oversimplified, but that resonates with me.
Yes. Well, it is a gift to be a positive mirror for the people around us, like you had spoken into before, to uplift those that maybe need a champion or that have become discouraged because, somebody's over target when they're getting criticized. Or they might be getting criticized because there are big shoes to fill, and to have somebody come alongside them and to be that encourager, that could be magic for their life. That moment, that could be the light of the divine.
Yeah, my hunch is there's not a line at their door of people that want to come in and encourage them. I live that life, so it's very rare that you get somebody to come in to say, "Man, you got this. Keep going. Do that." So,
yes.
But I hope that the people I meet as we leave, they can say, "I'm encouraged because I met him." So,
it's wonderful. That's wonderful. What helps you develop your legacy? Do you work with a coach yourself, or who is it that inspires you and gets to hold you accountable?
Yeah, really good question. I've been a part of several masterminds over the years. I'm currently not in one, but I'm getting ready to start in January. This management team that I bring in that's been with me now is they're going on 3 years, and I meet weekly with them. The two primary principals are really sharp business people that I respect, and I think they would be the people that hold me accountable, but also my wife. We're, again, I told you I made some crazy things. She's an incredible businesswoman, has a great business mind, and so running stuff by her has been great the last few years. And she's engaged with the management team as well. So she's up to speed and really provides me that sixth sense on some things that I have ignored some in the past. So that's worked for me well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. She gets to bring her intuition.
Yes, she does, and she's good at it. So I'm always let her decide. Yeah.
Good, good. And I'm sure that makes for a stronger partnership and communication.
It
And
does. I'm very
yeah,
thankful that she's in my life. Yeah.
good, good. Any closing thoughts, Steve, as we come to a close?
No,
Uh,
I've really enjoyed the prep time. I've enjoyed even this morning. And I want to encourage you. You're really good at this. I've watched some of your previous podcasts and all, and I think you're in a niche that we need to be. Everybody needs to be thinking through some of these questions that you're asking and answering. So I want to thank you for reaching out and for us connecting. Look forward to
thank you.
following you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. When I started about a decade ago, people were not talking as much about legacy. I mean, when I thought to
Mm-hmm.
myself, okay, well, if I would like to go onto the internet and find a coach, I could find a coach to help me lose weight, stop smoking, and double my income. But I couldn't find a coach
Right.
that if I wanted to say to them, yes, I'd like to have a vision for my legacy. Can you help support me on that path? I couldn't find that person. And at that
Mm.
time, the management houses, whether it was Ernst & Young or Deloitte & Touche or Bain Company, et cetera, they weren't speaking about this idea of legacy. I think today it's different, especially after
Yeah.
the COVID. For a few years, I think people now are
Yeah.
starting to have some more conversations around it. But it's been very interesting, and I thought one of the best things is just to get some more faces and voices to start talking about it, so it can become a dining
Yeah.
room conversation. It can become a kitchen table conversation.
Yeah. I'm a better person because of it. So thank you for this past week or two that I've been chewing on this, and then for today. So it'll be the conversation will continue. How's that?
Wonderful. What's the best website if somebody would like to learn more about your consulting business?
Yeah, the best is FamilyBiz, B-I-Z matters.com. Family Biz Matters is probably the best. And that's a place where I can get your name and email, and I'll send you some stuff on succession planning. High Performance Coaching is just my name, SteveFultzPhD.com. And I kind of go over my philosophy of coaching and how I do it. So it just really to start a conversation. I don't have any canned products. I don't have I want to start the conversation first, and we will customize it to where the person is in his or her journey.
Wonderful. Before I read out my closing paragraph, I just want to take a moment to thank you for the contribution that you've brought today. I know that we started this podcast episode with this idea of pausing for a moment to think about legacy, whether it's life lessons, values, as well as ethics. And I just want to extend my gratitude of your being able to bring all of you, your life experiences, what your dad had taught you, and even
Yeah.
if I'm going to hold up for a moment, your life journey of sitting in dad's chair. And I think all of
Yeah.
that is just wonderful. And I would recommend anyone who is listening that is in need of a family business coach to help guide your next steps, please call Dr. Fultz. I think that he is the real
Yeah.
deal and is genuine and authentic and can help guide you. And coaches are incredibly important today, because we can't just put all of the pressure on the next gen or the rising gen and hope that they're just going to learn by osmosis. They need to have TI or that time in. So please reach out
Yep.
to Dr. Fultz.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to read out my closing paragraph. So in closing, I'm Angelina Carleton, the hostess of the Design Your Legacy podcast, as well as the founder to Legacy Planning, a boutique coaching and advisory firm based out of Beverly Hills, California, but international in those I coach. I hope to dive deep into subjects that can help a person define, develop, and execute their legacy, and continue to scour the landscape for those who can be great resources to every dimension of your legacy. Whether you find yourself with new wealth or generational wealth, may the content on this channel be an anchor in any storms ahead. For many listeners, there can never be enough education or preparation in the mood or moat around your castle. We do our best to provide original content, and we thank you for joining today. If you're tuning in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or SoundCloud, please remember to rate and review, share with your family and friends, and leave a rating if you would like to do so. We thank you for joining us this week, and we'd like to thank Dr. Fultz for speaking into his legacy.